We'll have roll call, please.
Lynn Heath.
Bill Schnauber.
Gary Israel.
Alex Zarchin.
Okay, approval of the minutes from the August 20th, 2019 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes for the August 20, 2019 meeting.
No, wait a minute.
You can't.
I can't, not to, that's 20, that's,
You weren't there.
oh, sorry.
Lynn's the only one.
That's
you
right,
can-
oh, sorry.
I'm just, whoa.
You're it, Lynn?
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh, cripes, I have the second and everything.
you're the final say on that.
I want to do this. I can approve it.
Lynn was the only one here at the meetings. Okay.
Okay. I, Lynn Heath, move to approve the minutes for the August 20th, 2019 meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Passes.
Those in favor?
Passes 1-0.
3 abstentions? Passes. All right. Committee and staff report. Lance, anything? Okay. Item B, potential residential development report.
Yep.
Any comments? What's that? Yes, it does. It's good to see. Okay. Moving on to item number 5. Case number Z 2019-07. Application for change of zoning district classification from the residential district, Butler County, to the MF1 single family and 2-family residential district on property generally located at the southeast corner of South Archer Drive and East Concord Road, Andover, Kansas. I would like to go over a few things before we go any further. It's important to you that you present any facts or views you have as evidence so that an informed recommendation can be made by the Planning Commission to the governing body for their final decision. By state statute, the governing body does not have to hold another public hearing on the matter, although they may listen to whomever they wish. You will be asked if there are any new information which was not heard at this hearing. It is to everyone's advantage if you present all the necessary information at this hearing. After the city zoning administrator provides the commission with background information, I will call upon the applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the hearing to public comments and will then consider the 14 factors on which to base their recommendation. During this time, the Commission may direct questions to the applicant, the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware that the Planning Commission can recommend that the site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by the regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium over here on the right and speak clearly so that your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case.
No, sir.
No.
No.
Okay. Official notice for this hearing was published in the Butler County Times-Gazette on August 24, 2019, and notices were mailed to the applicant and 17 real property owners of record in the area of notification on August 20, 2019. The record shows that at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the commission if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to this hearing, which they would like to share. Gentlemen?
No.
No.
Okay. Staff has considered and recommended use of the property from both the comprehensive plan and US 54-400 corridor study perspectives, and concluded that the proposed use promotes the goals of both plans. Staff knows of no reason not to support the change, pending the outcome of the public hearing, conditioned on satisfactory plating, including the extension of public water, paved streets, and storm sewers. Les, anything in addition to that?
No, I think it's important, Bill, for you to have a look at the comprehensive plan map and the US 54 corridor study land use map. You'll notice that one calls it out as just residential, the other calls it out as single-family residential. I think the key here is that it's not commercial. The US 54 corridor study is really more of an advisory suggestion on land uses.
Yep.
I wouldn't take that Archer Street to be a hard line division between any of the zones.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions for city?
No. Not at the moment.
All right, then I now call the applicant to make their presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator's report.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering. I'm the agent. We're fine with the report, and we're looking at doing duplexes on there. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, or try to.
Okay.
Now, let's see. So there'll just be two-family duplexes?
Yes.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it does.
That's,
What is that?
seems pretty straightforward.
Alice, you have any questions?
I mean, well, maybe this will go to staff or to the applicant. I mean, what is the number of units that you're looking at being able to put on this property?
I don't know right now. We're not even sure what size duplex we're looking at this point.
They got guidelines they have to follow on that. Now, that'll be a different part.
When the manufactured home park was there, how many residents were there in that area? Looks like it,
Looks like about
12 manufactured homes there at one point.
and there would be not quite as dense if it was
Well-
single family or...
That all depends on how the property is developed. If it's divided into lots, the lots have a minimum of 10,000 square feet. The site is 105,000 square feet. So if it was divided into lots to the maximum density, it could be as high as 20. But if you were to take the street frontage and divide it up by the minimum lot width, it's considerably less than that. So I don't anticipate a great disparity in the prior mobile home park density as compared to the proposed two-family dwelling
Okay,
density.
thank you.
Across the street to the north are single-family dwellings.
Correct. It's a little unusual there. As you know, this area was recently annexed into the city. You'll notice there that even though some of those lots may be single-family zoning from the county, they actually have 2 dwellings. There are several manufactured homes in addition to a stick-built home on the lot, particularly those on the west side of Archer Street.
And then there's a multifamily one just over to the side there on McCandless then, where it's 301 and 303?
Yes,
Okay. To the east.
correct.
Looks like a duplex. Any other questions? For the gentleman?
Ally, are you
Nope.
satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I call any members of the public who wish to speak on this case.
My name is Jerry Lemons. I live at 329 South Archer Drive. I own the property at 325 South Archer Drive. I admit this needs some development over there. My thing is, you say this will involve city water and paved street. Are they looking at paving Archer or what?
Les?
I'm sure when it gets to plating, we would consider the paving of Archer at a minimum and quite probably Concord Road adjacent to the site also.
Does this mean that you're going to be putting city water in for the entire neighborhood or what? Because I know this is going to be quite an expense for us, and we just kind of struggle payday to payday. And my wife and I are both approaching retirement, so it's going to get even tighter.
The extension of public water would most definitely be a condition of plating.
Yes, sir, it would.
Well, we don't have city water yet. No, we
Correct.
do have, no, wait a minute. No, we got city sewer, not city
Yeah,
water.
sewer, yeah.
Yeah, we have city sewer there right now.
This neighborhood already has the city sewer from an old county sewer district many, many, many years ago.
I know I'm on well water, and I've been there
Yeah,
probably 45 years, and I love the water.
Yep.
And we got a great well. I mean, it just pumps all kinds of water. So I know there are people north of us that I understand have had trouble with water. But we've been fortunate right there. Both of those addresses got great wells. So if they put city water through, are we going to be forced to hook to it?
There is no law that would require you to connect to public water.
Did you hear that, sir?
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Plackey. I live at 329 South McCandless. I'm just east of, adjacent to that property. Kind of back on what he was talking about pavement, what recently happened was that daycare there on the corner of McCandless and Kellogg, you're requiring them to pave their road, that road up to their drive. So that may be something you may want to consider. If you're going to pave that whole Archer and Concord, you may have to pave all the way down on McCandless too. Maybe something to be considered. Kind of questions, are pets going to be allowed at this duplex?
That's not our call.
Next question is drainage. I mean, right,
Part of the planning process is to develop a preliminary and a final drainage plan, so that would all be studied at that time.
And even like, even if it'd be a gated or fenced community type deal?
Yes.
And I think there's still some questions that we need answered as far as, the duplexes and all that. One thing to think about is on your comprehensive plan, it's all single families, all the way through there. We start changing multifamilies, do I need to change mine to multifamily too, type deal? What's happening is in the city of Andover, there's been a great demand for duplexes because everybody wants to come out here and get into the Andover City School District, so they are building duplexes and people are renting, and then once their kids are out of school, then they pack up and leave. I guess my question is, how many more duplexes are we going to let be built in the city before we, say enough is enough? And that puts extra strain on the school districts. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Crawford.
Anyone else from the public? Does the applicant have any rebuttal or anything, any additional information? Okay, thank you. Has there been any written communications been received by the city?
No.
All right, hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the commission wishes to ask questions to clarify information. Planning Commission will now deliberate on the request. There will be 14 factors which the commission must consider in order to make findings and ultimately a recommendation. Okay. Number one, do adequate sewage disposal and water supply of all other necessary public facilities, including street access, exist, or can they be provided to serve the uses that would be permitted on the subject property if the change in zoning were approved? Staff comment, the area was recently annexed into the city of Andover. The site is served by Andover Public Sewer, but lacks public water service and paved roads. Concur?
Concur.
Two, if the zoning change request was approved, would the subject property need to be platted or replatted, or have in lieu of dedications made, in order to provide needed rights-of-way, easements, building setback lines, or access control? Staff comment, platting would be required to include dedications of necessary rights-of-way, easements, building setback lines, access controls, and public improvements.
I concur.
Concur.
Three, if the zoning change request was approved, would the subject property need a screening plan for existing or potential uses?
No.
Staff, screening is not required between single and two-family residences.
Concur.
Concur.
Four, what fact-based information in support of or in opposition to the requested zoning change has staff received? Staff has not received any at this time.
We just heard a few comments. Never got to that stage yet.
Five, if there has been an error in the application of these zoning regulations to the subject property, would the requested zoning change correct the error? Staff, no error is known to exist.
Yep.
Six, how suitable or unsuitable is the subject property for its current zoning? Staff, the site is not adequately improved to support the former manufactured home park use.
Concur.
Seven, is the length of time the subject property has been vacant or undeveloped under its current zoning a factor in the zoning change request? Staff, no. The applicant chose to demolish the previous manufactured home park.
Concur.
Concur.
Eight, how reasonably well suited will the requested zoning change of the subject property be with the current zoning of nearby properties? Staff, the proposed use would be a less intense residential use than the prior manufactured home park and would seem to be a good buffer between the existing single-family residences to the north and the proposed commercial uses along the US 54-400 corridor.
Concur.
Concur.
9, has the zoning change been requested because conditions in the area of the subject property have changed or are changing? If so, what is the nature and significance of these conditions? Staff, the applicant has demolished the former manufactured home park in anticipation of future redevelopment of the property. The recent annexation would allow the extension of public improvements to serve redevelopment.
Concur.
10, what are the current land uses, character, and condition of the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood? Staff, the subject property is surrounded by single-family residences of varying sizes, ages, and condition.
Concur.
Yes.
11, would the proposed zoning change of the subject property allow land uses which might have detrimental effects on nearby properties? And if so, how? Staff, the proposed two-family residential development would have less detrimental effects than the manufactured home park use that previously existed.
Concur.
Concur.
12, how would the requested zoning change conform with the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted master plans and policies? Staff, the comprehensive plan suggests residential use of the subject property. The subject property is at a transitional point from single-family residential to commercial in the US 54-400 corridor study.
Yes.
Concur.
13, do any professional persons knowledgeable on conditions that affect this zoning change request have information or recommendations to provide, which would be helpful to its evaluation? Staff supports the change condition on satisfactory plating, including the extension of public water, paved streets, and storm sewer.
Concur.
14, how would the potential loss in value or hardship imposed on the applicant compare to the relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare if there is a change from the current zone to the requested zone? Staff does not perceive a loss in the public health, safety, and welfare by the redevelopment of the property.
Concur.
Gentlemen, concur?
Concur.
Yes.
Any comments at this time? Having discussed and reached conclusions. Oh,
Excuse me.
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name very well.
Kirk Nolan?
Nolan? No, the gentleman in the back.
Ashley Clackey.
Okay, no, Ashley had brought up a couple of issues. You know, there is a demand in Andover for duplexes. Tends to be that, you know, rents are a little bit less, which allows other people to come in without purchasing a home. I know property taxes are still paid. You know, it is desirable to get people in. And you can't, you know, let's say that there's 10 duplexes there, how many people are going to be there? It's hard to say. Somebody could buy my house and have 10 kids. You know, are we going to limit how many people can move into a single-family dwelling? You know, we're not going to do that. I think the fact that we're looking at paving more of Andover, especially areas that have been annexed, is a good thing. It helps to improve the image and look of the city and also deal with drainage of water because we've got, you know, ways of controlling that. So I think, you know, my personal opinion, I think there's some good things to be said about this development being done. And based on that, I'd like to make a motion then. See if I can find our wording here.
Page 3. There it is, left side.
Yeah. Well, having considered the evidence at the hearing and the factors to evaluate the application, I, Gary Israel, move that we recommend to the governing body that case number Z-2019-07 be approved to change the zoning district classification from the residential district Butler County to the MF-1 single-family and two-family residential district based on the following facts and findings. Number 8, 9, 10, and 12, as recorded in this hearing. And under the conditions on satisfactory plating, including the extension of public water, paved streets, and storm sewers.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Let's see here. This case will be forwarded to the governing body with the Planning Commission's recommendation and a written summary of the hearing for consideration at their regular meeting of October 8th, 2019. The recording of this hearing will be retained for at least 60 days after the final determination is completed on this case. Protest petitions against the case, but not directed at the Commission's recommendations as such, may be received by the city clerk for 14 days after tonight, which is October 2nd, 2019 at 4:30 p.m. If there are properly signed protest petitions with accurate legal descriptions from the owners of record of 20% or more of the total real property owners within the official area of notification, both inside and outside of the city, and not counting public streets of right-of-way or specific statutorial excluded property, then such a change shall not be passed except by a 3/4 vote of all members of the City Council. Again, thank you.
Next item.
Okay. All set? Moving on to item number 6. Case number Z, 2019-08. Application for change of zoning district classification from the A1 Agricultural Transition District to the SF2 Single Family Residential Medium Density District on property generally located at 1104 West Harry Street, Andover, Kansas. The applicant desires to change the zoning district classification in preparation for a new single-family residential development. The subject property is in an area suggested for single-family residential use in the comprehensive plan, and public utilities can be readily extended to service the site. Staff knows of no reason not to support the change pending the outcome of the public hearing.
I drove by that one.
I'm going to ask the commission members that any of them attempt to disqualify themselves from participating in this case.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
No.
Official notice for this hearing was published in the Butler County Times-Gazette on August 24, 2019, and notices were mailed to the applicant and 17 real property owners of record in the area of notification on August 20th, 2019. The record shows that at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that proper notification has been given. Has there been any ex parte communication?
No.
No.
Les, what can you tell us?
A month or so ago at subdivision committee, we looked at a sketch plat of not only this parcel, but the adjacent properties around it in a larger picture residential development. So what you see tonight is just a piece of that bigger picture. It's, like I said in the memo, it's in an area that is proposed for single-family use. It is surrounded on two sides by developed residential property. Water, sewer, paved streets are available adjacent to the subject property.
Okay.
And then, just for clarification, the difference between going for single-family SF1 and the single-family SF2?
Size of the lot.
Just the size of the lot.
Okay.
SF1 is much bigger.
Any other questions for staff?
Nope.
Okay. I now would call the applicant up, make his or her presentation on the request, and any response to the zoning administrator's report.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering, I'm the agent. I guess you guys saw the preliminary plat last month and approved it, so we're just getting the zoning in place for it.
So could you speak up just a little bit?
Sure. You saw the preliminary plat about a month ago, and you approved it. Now we're just getting the zoning in place because we didn't have it already zoned.
Okay. Okay. Questions for the applicant?
Better put none in that reply.
No.
No. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone in the public wishes to make a statement? Okay. Any written communications received, Les?
No.
Want to close the public hearing? Hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless commission wishes to ask questions to clarify information. We will now deliberate the request. Again, there are 14 factors which the commission must consider in order to make findings and ultimately a recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read those facts and findings?
That would be welcome.
Number one, do adequate sewage disposal and water supply and all other necessary public facilities, including street access, exist, or can they be provided to serve the uses that would be permitted on the subject property if the change in zoning were approved? Staff has commented, public water, sewer, and paved streets are available adjacent to the subject property and can be readily extended to the servers to serve the site.
Concur?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Number two, if the zoning change requested was approved, would the subject property need to be platted or replatted or have in lieu of dedications made in order to provide needed rights-of-way, easements, building setback lines, or access control? Staff has commented that platting would be required.
Yes.
Yes.
Concur.
Number three, if the zoning change requested was approved, would the subject property need a screening plan for existing or potential uses? Staff has commented that screening would not be required. Concur.
Yep.
Number four, what fact-based information in support or in opposition to the requested zoning change has staff received? And staff has commented that they have not received anything at this time.
Concur.
Number five, if there has been an error in the application for the zoning regulations to the subject property, would the requested zoning change correct the error? Staff has commented that there is no error known to exist.
I got a question on number one here before we go on. And I concur with the last one. Makes sense.
Okay. But you're back to number one.
Yep, well, I got a little clarification. It says,
Okay.
public water, sewer, and paved streets are available adjacent to the subject property. Now, should paved streets be in there?
I think, is it referencing Harry Street being,
Harry.
that it's going to connect?
Was that the one you're referencing?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right, that's what I was trying to figure out. All righty, if that's the one we're referring to, then there's no question.
Okay. Number six, how suitable or unsuitable is the subject property for its current zoning? Staff has commented that the property is suitable to continue use as an agricultural transition.
An excellent residential area.
Concur.
Number seven, is the length of time the subject property has been vacant or developed under its current zoning a factor in the zoning change request? Staff has commented that that is not applicable.
Yeah, I agree.
Number 8, how reasonably well-suited will the requested zoning change of the subject property be with the current zoning of nearby properties? Staff has commented that the subject property is on the fringe of developed suburban residential areas and would be well-suited for the change to single-family residential development.
Concur.
Number 9, has the zoning change been requested because conditions in the area of the subject property have changed or are changing? If so, what is the nature and significance of these changes? Staff has commented, no, there haven't been any changes.
Concur.
Number 10, what are the current land uses, character, and condition of the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood? Staff has commented that the subject property is surrounded by a mix of suburban single-family residences and large single-family residential parcels in varied conditions and agriculture. We concur. Number 11, would the proposed zoning change of the subject property allow land use which might have detrimental effects on nearby properties, and if so, how? Staff has commented that they know of no detriment that the proposed use could cause. Would concur.
Concur.
Number 12, how would the requested zoning change conform with the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted master plans and policies? Staff comments that the comprehensive plan suggests the subject property should be used for residential purposes.
Yep.
Concur.
13, do any professional persons knowledgeable on conditions that affect this zoning change request have information or recommendations to provide which would be helpful in its evaluation? And staff comments that it knows of no reason not to approve the requested change conditional on satisfactory plating.
Concur.
And number 14, how would the potential loss in value or hardship imposed on the applicant compare to the relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare if there is a change from the current zone to the requested zone? Staff comments that it does not perceive a detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare caused by the proposed change.
Nope, not in this location.
Concur.
Concur.
Any other comments, gentlemen?
Nope.
Having discussed and reached conclusions on our findings of fact, I would remind the commission that a proper motion should reflect the factors on which it is based, and if approval is recommended, then consideration should be given to any conditions that might be attached. Is there a motion to either recommend approval, modification and approval, disapproval, or should table the discussion?
I'll make a motion. Having considered the evidence at the hearing and the factors to evaluate the application, I, Alex Zarchin, move that we recommend to the governing body that case number Z 2019-08 be approved to change the zoning district classification from A1 Agricultural Transition District to this SF2 Single Family Residential Medium Density District based on the findings of the Planning Commission in findings numbers 8, 10, and 12, as recorded in the summary of this hearing.
We have a motion to approve.
I would second the motion.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay. This case will be forwarded to the governing body with the Planning Commission's recommendation and a written summary of the hearing for consideration at their regular meeting of October 8th, 2019. The recording of this hearing will be retained for at least 60 days after the final determination is completed on this case. Protest petitions against the case, but not directed at the Commission's recommendations as such, may be received by the City Clerk for 14 days after tonight, which is October 2nd, 2019, at 4:30 p.m. If there are properly signed protest petitions with accurate legal descriptions from the owners of record of 20% or more of the total real property owners within the official area of notification, both inside and outside of the city, and not counting public streets of right-of-way or specific statutorial excluded property, then such a change shall not be passed except by a 3/4 vote of all members of the City Council. Thank you for participating in our hearing. Okay. Item number 7, which is review of the USD 385 final plat, Andover Central High and Middle School Edition, final plat located at the southeast corner of North Shea Road and East Central Avenue, Andover, Kansas. The replat of the central campus generally cleans up some easements and provides for the realignment of Yorktown Parkway. Staff and subdivision committee have reviewed the final plat and recommend approval. Staff knows of no reason not to approve the final plat.
Looks good.
Lynn, your comment was it looks good? Gary? Alex?
We're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
I think everything else has kind of been fleshed out of that proposal and the land and Yorktown and everything else coming in and out.
All right, then. I'm looking for a motion, please.
We don't have any any comments? This is it? Okay.
Only one comment I'd have, reviewing our subdivision committee meetings on this issue, it looks like I made the motion to recommend and also seconded that motion. I don't
You were the
think,
only one there.
did I do that? I can't remember.
Those minutes aren't approved yet, so I can go back and edit them.
Who did second it then?
But I appreciate you taking the time to actually read them.
I just wanted to
I'll
check.
rely on Gary on those details.
Details, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the USD 385 Andover Central High and Middle School additional final plat located at the southeast corner of North Shea Road and East Central Avenue, Andover, Kansas.
We have a motion to approve,
I'll second it.
and we have a motion second to that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously, 4-0. Thank you. Number 8, member items.
None.
I'm just sorry I screwed up on trying to approve the minutes, Reading all the minutes, I just got a little confused on dates. So.
Well, I didn't know I was the only one here.
Well, I was laying up in a hospital bed that evening, so.
Alex, anything?
I do have a question for staff that's been brought to, that I was asked from people I know here in the city is the use of the amphitheater and any limitations to the time and duration that concerts can be used at that amphitheater from some of the summer concerts.
City facilities are not part of the noise ordinance, if that's kind of where you're coming from on this, but I would assure you that is something that's considered. There's a committee that is appointed by the mayor, the amphitheater committee, that considers all requests to host a concert or something like that, even if it's hosted by an outside promoter, if it's a non-city event. And so they do review and work. They actually have a requirement for a meeting with the promoters of the event. That includes meeting with the police department on security needs and making sure that their plans for parking and traffic are in place. And so that's definitely a consideration. But in terms of if it's against a city ordinance or code, no, there is an exception to the noise ordinance for city events and city facilities.
Now, when those are agreed upon, is there a time frame that is specified on how long the event?
So
Can
part of that
be-
planning process is going to include what the timeline of the event is. The latest that they've known someone was intending to go on was 11 p.m. I know that we had an event that music was going until midnight. That was not, they were not supposed to be going that long. Apparently, their main artist showed up, I believe it was close to 2 hours late. And I will say that's a nightmare from a promoting point of view, because sometimes you're a little bit at the mercy of your artist. But if that's what the question's coming
Yeah.
from, I am aware of that. That was not the intention of that event or the timeline that had been approved.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, and I know that there's been complaints in the past about Greater Andover Days, fireworks, but that all has to be approved by city council, and people have to remember, that's one of our ways of celebrating the wonderful city of Andover, is having Greater Andover Days and having people out to participate and enjoy those activities.
So I was just going back to the amphitheater, I think on the social media side of things, they had posted out that the concert was going to be over, I want to say 10:45 or 11, but yeah, it continued on with till 11:45, so.
And I would say the city council does take those complaints very seriously. The fireworks is a great example that you reminded me of when we hosted the National Fireworks Association. I mean, we had regular email correspondence going out because the first few days it was considerable. I would say, off the top of my head, I want to say we had over 40 phone calls to 911 the first couple nights. And it tapered off. And then we did a survey, scientific survey about 1 to 2 months following the event. And 80% of people asked to bring it back, the National Fireworks Association conference, in a future year, which the people doing the survey had to go back and verify the numbers. They said they really never get 80% concurrence on anything that they ask about, but they did verify. So it is one of those things, I think, to Gary's point, that it certainly can feel like a nuisance on the front end, but then there's some benefits if you see some of that through a little bit and decide maybe you do want it in your community.
I'm sure the city's very, aware of all the citizens, but, you can't control artists. You can't control the weather. If people come out and then there's a little, rainstorm and people still want to stick around, and hear the artist play, there's going to be a delay.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, that being said, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals, September 17, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously.